So this assumption is a little bit funny, that you had to stick your finger up someone's bum in medical school. True.
Very true. I mean, not just once, probably several times. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kieran. I'm a junior doctor and a comedian working in Manchester. Today's video is a cheeky collab with a friend of mine, Yath, who's a medical student and a YouTuber.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Yath and thank you so much for Kieran for having me. So for those that don't know me, which is probably everyone on this channel, I'm a medical student and I'm a designer from London. I study at UCL. I also have a YouTube channel as well, so feel free to check it out.
In this video, we're going to be answering some of your assumptions about medical students and doctors. So as always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed so you can join the team, and let's get into your assumptions.
Okay, so assumption number one, med students have no time to do anything else other than studying. I think this is false. I think med students do have time outside of studying. We seem like we study an awful lot, which is true. There is a huge amount of content within medicine, but I do think there is a lot of time to do a lot of things outside of medicine. For example, I have this YouTube channel, I design on the side, I do a lot of freelance design projects, and for most other medics, they also do their own sports, musics, whatever it is. So there is plenty of time outside of medicine, and it's really how you prioritize things and how you choose to do things. So I definitely think that's a false.
I think it's a common misconception that all that medical students do is studying. I know that we do study a lot because there is a lot of content, but at the same time, when I was at medical school, I was doing loads of comedy shows. I was the captain of the tennis team. I used to coach the badminton team. I was part of Hindu Sock. I was going out loads. I think there's such scope to do other things that are not just revise for medicine. I think you need to appreciate that you need to revise at the right times so that you can pass your exams, but other than that, you've got loads of time to actually enjoy university as well. You all drive flashy cars and you're rich ASF. I think that's false as well.
True/false, but let's go for false.
I think doctors in general in the UK do make good money. A newly qualified doctor is on about £35,000 to £40,000 a year. A second year doctor is on about £40,000 to £45,000 a year. And it does go up and up. Consultants are earning 80 to 100k. So I think when you're at that level, you are rich ASF. But I think when you are starting out as a doctor and when you're doing the on-calls in the hospital and when you're a junior doctor, probably I wouldn't say you're rich ASF, and most doctors I know don't have flashy cars, although I do have a nice car.
So I think on the whole, the profession is definitely a profession that pays above average in terms of salary, but that by no nature makes every doctor completely rich or really rich. I think there are doctors that are very rich, and these are often doctors that either have their own GP practices, they do a lot of private practice, or they definitely do some additional work on top of their main core NHS work. Do all doctors drive flashy cars? No, I don't think most doctors don't actually drive flashy cars. You do get those consultants, those, maybe it's mostly like surgeons or the people that really high up who drive these really flashy cars. And certainly when I'm being on placement, I've personally seen one consultant with a Lamborghini and another consultant with a Porsche. So yeah, some doctors do drive flashy cars, but on the whole, I wouldn't say they drive flashy cars. Assumption number 3, they date others in the medical field. False.
I'd say true.
I think if you're working in some environment where everyone around you is a healthcare profession, then of course there's a higher chance that you're going to meet someone at work, which is, the common place where people meet their partners, that is also a healthcare professional. But it doesn't have to be that way, and for a lot of people it isn't that way. So me personally, my girlfriend is not a medic, is not a doctor, is not a nurse. She's completely different. She works in big pharma. So yeah, that's an absolute false for me, at least.
I remember when I was at medical school, one of our first lectures, they sat us down and they said, look to the left of you, look to the right of you, because 1/3 of you will be marrying someone else in the room. And that's a crazy statistic from my university, which is that 1/3 of people marry another graduate in medicine in their year, which is absolutely insane. But now I think about it, I know lots of medic couples from my year that are still together. I think in general, medics do date a lot of medics. I think they understand each other's work schedules more, and they understand the hardships that come with the profession. My other half is a dentist, so I've half escaped, I think. Junior doctors have a lot of night shifts. I'd say true and false. It depends. It depends what kind of rota you're on and what kind of job you're doing. If you're doing a job like general practice, where you won't do any night shifts at all, or if you're doing psychiatry where you'll have a lot fewer night shifts than if you were doing something like A&E or acute medicine. It also depends on how well staffed your hospital is. In my first hospital, and I was doing FY1, I think there wasn't enough doctors. So we were doing night shifts very frequently, probably once a month or once every 6 weeks. Now I probably do a week of nights every 2 months or so, which I don't think is too bad. What do you guys think?
I think I can't really comment on this because I'm not a junior doctor, I'm just a final year medical student. But going off the back of what I've seen on placements and the number of night shifts that I've done, as a junior, you definitely have more night shifts than someone who's more senior. I think the way it works is as you kind of work your way up the ladder, so you become an F1, F2, which is the most junior doctor in the UK. Then you become a registrar, which is like the next level of doctors. Then you become a consultant or senior registrar, and then a consultant. At which point your night shifts are significantly fewer. So yeah, junior doctors definitely work more night shifts than seniors, but I wouldn't say they work a lot of night shifts because there are rotas, there are gaps in your shifts. You work a number of day shifts and then you work a few night shifts. So you'll never find doctors that work all night shifts. At the same time, you won't find doctors that work all day shifts either.
You chose medicine for your parents. For me personally, true. And I think the same for a lot of Asian people, although they probably wouldn't say it. I was at a point where I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was very academic, I loved learning things, I was really into science, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And my parents, with a big nudge, said, why don't you do medicine? And I wasn't really doing anything better, so I thought, well, why don't I do medicine? But looking back, definitely I'm glad I've done it. It's opened up lots of opportunities that I definitely wouldn't have had otherwise.
So this assumption is a little bit funny, that you had to stick your finger up someone's bum in medical school. True.
Very true. I mean, not just once, probably several times. Not just at medical school, even when you qualify as a doctor, you will be sticking your finger in someone's bum. And the sad thing is, it's one of these jobs which traditionally is given to the most junior doctor on the ward. So the FY1 doctor and the FY2 doctor, they tend to be lumped with the jobs of doing what we call a PR examination on patients. But why do we do that examination? So one reason is if we're looking for bleeding, sometimes if people are bleeding from the back passage, we can tell by having a look at their stool from the back end. If someone has got prostate problems, we can have a feel to see if they're hypertrophied or if they might have signs of prostate cancer. And also sometimes if someone's very constipated, before we give them an enema, we do a rectal examination to check if they have what we call fecal impaction, which is hard stool in the rectum.
But we have to be honest here, and we have to think about what we're trying to achieve or what is the purpose for doing this. So when you perform a DRE, which is a digital rectal examination, which is the formal name for what's being said, you would always do it for a really strong medical reason. For example, they might be bleeding from their back passage, they might have absolute constipation, or they might have something going on that warrants the requirement for it. So yeah, you do it in medical school, but it's unnecessary for patients to be treated in the right way.
You hate friends asking for medical advice.
False.
I don't mind that at all. I find it quite amusing, and I'm helping patients in the hospital all day and night. The least I can do is help my family and friends as much as I can within the limits of my knowledge. You'd be surprised how many people are so open with you as a doctor, and I think it's a bit of an art being able to diagnose a rash from a Snapchat.
I think personally I don't mind it too much, but at the same time my friends don't really ask me for medical advice. That might change as I become a doctor and start working, so maybe Kieran has more to say here. But for me, I think I don't really mind it too much because it actually kind of gives me that sort of channel or that ability to help people in a way that's kind of meaningful. Because, you know, I have a lot of friends that are bankers or accountants or, you know, work in law, and I would go to them for financial advice, or I would go to them for law advice. So in the same way, I'm happy that people come for me for med advice. Obviously, at the same time, I would preface this by saying, you know, if you do need to see a medical professional, you should. I'm not here to provide you or treat you in any way. I'm just here to offer my 2 cents, and I would obviously point them in the right direction if need be. So yeah, I don't mind that too much.
You found the perfect studying method. True.
False.
The reason I'd say true is because I've done a lot of studying, both for undergraduate exams and also for postgraduate exams in medicine as well. And I think when you do so much studying, you find a formula that works for you. When I was at medical school, this was a time before Anki flashcards was such a big thing, and before everyone was talking about study techniques on the internet. I found that making paper flashcards worked really well for me. And I didn't know about active recall and spaced repetition, but I'd basically developed a method that was exactly those things, just because it was something that worked for me to retain information. They are the best way of learning now. Definitely, if I was still at medical school, I would be looking at active recall, spaced repetition, and learning as efficiently as you could. If you want to know more about the method that I used to study at medical school, I'll link the video above.
I certainly haven't found the perfect studying method. I'm in my final year now, and I'm still learning new things. I'm still trialing new things. I think recently there was this thing about animedoro, which is like you watch a bit of anime, then you study, then you watch more anime. So I think I might try that out. And yeah, I've tried Anki, I've tried flashcards, I've tried writing things down, I've tried mind maps. I've tried so many different things, and I think everything has its own little benefit. But overall, I don't think I've found the perfect study method. So that's still a quest that I'm working towards. It's difficult to handle everything during med school, and that you're probably sleep deprived.
I think that's true.
True/false, but let's go for false.
But you need to keep a balanced life. It can get really busy sometimes, both with work, with placement, with everything else going on in your life. When everything is so new, you need to be able to have an output to do other things so that you're not burning out. And as well as that, you need to make sure that you are sleeping well. Sleeping well is key to keeping good health. I'm definitely sleep deprived at the moment, but I don't think that's because of medicine. I think that's mainly because I spend a lot of nights editing videos.
I think it is possible to achieve a good work-life balance at medical school. I think it is definitely possible to handle everything, and I think I certainly don't feel sleep deprived. There are occasions where I feel sleep deprived, for example, heading up to exams or really important moments in med school. But on the whole, if you can balance things really well, if you can make schedules, if you can plan ahead, if you can make time to do other things, then you're going to feel pretty well in yourself. You're not going to burn out, and it's going to be okay to manage everything. I think that there is this notion that there's so much at medical school, and medical students are often the busiest people that you'll meet. But I think this is a false assumption. Medicine is a long course, but by no means is it an impossible course or a difficult course. And it's certainly possible to, complete it without being burnt out or without getting to a really bad place in life.
That they are always incredibly healthy. I'd say false. False in general. You have to practice what you preach, otherwise people won't believe the information that you give to them. Because we talk a lot about living a healthy life, eating healthy, low saturated fats, exercising, drinking water, not smoking, not drinking alcohol, and that sort of thing. If you go against that advice, people are going to look at you and say, well, if he's not doing it, why should I do it? So to an extent, you do, and I try and live a healthy life as much as I can. But at the same time, I do know there are a lot of doctors and a lot of med students that don't do that and that wouldn't be considered incredibly healthy. So although I'd say in general I live a relatively healthy life, I wouldn't say that's the same for every medical student and every doctor.
I, for one, do not consider myself to be healthy. I'm working towards it. I'm running more, I'm exercising more, which is all very difficult during this pandemic, but I'm still trying. I try to keep a balanced diet, but that's not always the case. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where, if you're a dentist, you expect them to have perfect teeth, but that often isn't the case. So yeah, this is just one of those assumptions where it's because the profession is all about health, or all about living longer, all about helping people, all about saving lives. So you kind of assume that doctors are healthy, super healthy individuals, but that isn't always the case. So yeah, that was really fun. I hope we answered some of your assumptions, and thank you so much for having me, Kieran.
That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was Answering Assumptions with my friend Yath Prem. If you haven't seen his channel before, make sure you check it out. And as always, make sure you are subscribed so you can join the team. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. Do you have any other assumptions that maybe we didn't talk about? Take care, everyone, and stay safe.